No, I tell you, I mean, some of the weather and birds. I've seen some really fantastic. I'm a bird watcher, so that means a lot to me. But I love to see the sunsets, the weather. There's the conditions. You know, you see stuff out here, and you're in the middle of nature, basically. Even though I'm in this steel boat, burning diesel fuel, I'm still out there under the sunset and the clouds. I watch the weather patterns. That's a big part of the maritime job that I really enjoy. Is you have to pay attention to the weather. Most people couldn't tell you what's going on outside because they don't need to. But there's times I feel quite smug when I'm sitting out there in the middle of the harbor waiting for the ship, and I look over there at I-95, bumper to bumper traffic, barely moving, and I think, how do people do that every day? I'm out here floating in a boat, you know, under the stars and the sun and the clouds. So that's the best part, is I feel like I'm out here part of nature. And the current, you have to pay attention to the wind, the currents, the rain, visibility, you know, fog and mist. I feel like I'm better connected to the world than a lot of people. I kind of feel after you work in a place, you get to know it when you live and work there day after day, month after month, year after year. I feel like I'm a part of the harbor, and the harbor's part of me. It's like, you know, you have all of these instruments and compasses and everything. I know the harbor well enough that I could just leave the dock and go steaming across the sound, and all I have to do is make sure I stay in the channel so I don't run into the mud. Once I get out into the sound, I know what direction I have to head to go to where I'm going. Bridgeport, Riverhead, New London. You know, I know the landmarks. I almost don't even have to think about it anymore. That doesn't mean that you can't give up on navigation, because you have to if something does go wrong, you have to prove that, yeah, I was paying attention, this is where I was. The one thing I do miss is plotting on charts. You know, going coastal, every hour, at least every hour, you're plotting your position with landmarks. And I still practice that, even though now you have chart plotters that tell you where you're at. And that's one of the unfortunate things with modern maritime. The guys have really become dependent on these electronics, the radar, the chart plotters. And a lot of the guys, I don't think they ever really learned how to plot the old-fashioned way, the old-fashioned piloting, where you knew where you were by landmarks and by the stars and planets. Hopefully there'll always be people like me. In fact, it's interesting, one of the drills that we have on the boat is cyber attack. What do you do if you get attacked and all of your electronics goes out? What do you do? I've worked with guys that say, we don't need that stuff, we've got all of this, GPS. But I was in a boat one time headed south, a small ship, and we got into some bad weather and the mast came down with all of our electronics. So that was a good example of losing your electronic navigation. We had to go back to the old-fashioned way. So
what's your finest?
I don't think it'll ever be lost. There'll be people like me, you know, aficionados, like wooden boat guys, you know. There'll always be enough people, I think, interested in it that it'll keep living.